Glory to you, O Christ, for you are the Word of God. Glory to you, O Christ, for you are the Word of God. We do not live on bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Glory to you, O Christ, for you are the Word of God. May Christ be with you.
And also with you.
A reading from the Good News according to the book of Matthew.
Glory to you, O Christ.
Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tested by the devil. He fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and afterwards he was famished. The tempter came and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread." But he answered, "It is written, one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city and placed him on the pinnacle of the temple, saying to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down. For it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not dash your foot against a stone." Jesus said to him, "Again it is written, do not put the Holy One your God to the test." Again the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to them, "All these I will give you if you will fall down and worship." Then Jesus said to him, "Away with you, Satan, for it is written, worship the Holy One your God and serve only your God." Then the devil left him, and suddenly angels came and waited on him. This is the gospel of Christ.
Praise to you, O Christ.
In the fullness of time, all shall be explained. All right. We unfortunately get a bit of a linguistics piece here because the translation we get in Genesis is not correct. Holy God formed an earthling. Adam is not man. It's not a name. It means being made from mud. Earthling. Neither male nor female. And in fact, while we're talking about ribs and things like that, it's that God pulled apart a woman from the side of this ungendered or all-gendered earthling. Pulled them apart into male and female. Root pattern is still some of each, and we see that in gestational development. Now, when we get to the whole tree thing, the temptation for wisdom is us. Oh, we humans want to be wise. We want to know. We want to get it. And we know at root that those sorts of things can bring us closer to God. It's awfully hard to be told, no, not yet. You're not ready. Awfully hard. And it's a temptation to go grab something before we are ready. And our little serpent enemy is correct. She didn't die. They didn't die. Not right away. But have you ever learned something you wished you didn't know? Recent public affairs. I've learned things I wished I didn't know. I have learned things that have created, to some extent or another, a tearing, rending death in my spirit and my heart. And it's not the first time in my life that I have felt the pain of knowing too much. and the exile of knowing too much. The separation between those who have learned a very difficult truth and those who have not. There is an exile there. There's an exile in seeing too much. The joke about those who study history are doomed to watch those who have not repeat history. I think maybe it's my social group, but I hear that piece more often than I hear those who do not study history are doomed to repeat it. Because as far as I can tell, people will repeat it whether they know it or not. Because they always think it's going to be different this time. Knowing too much, too soon, too harsh, too raw, that's a real thing. And many people, in fact, with the files that have been released, are being harshly, horribly reminded of times in their own lives when they were made to know too much, too soon, too harsh, too raw. And there are not words of apology for what society allows to happen that are strong enough for the survivors. And also, only a fool thinks it happened in one island or one range. This is endemic to empire. This idea that a human being can be used, devoured and discarded on the whim of another is the absolute antithesis of God and of Christ. The blasphemy of this is beyond anything that I can even express. And that has to be said. What also has to be said is that not a single one of us is without error. Not a single one of us has never, at some point, used, misused, abused another human being in some small way, even cutting in front of them in line. Ways in which we have not valued another person as highly as we have valued ourselves. We have all done this. And every little one of those is a slippery slope to there. Every one of them. It's no mistake that the scions of the rich do this with a sense of impunity, because they have it. I read an article that English prince, former prince, the royal family doesn't get away with pretending that his upbringing did not contribute to his downfall, and that their upbringing is part of what pulls them down, and they need to acknowledge that. Then we get into Psalm 51. And this is where a lot of the I am a worm and no man theology stuff comes from. It's definitely in there. And it's definitely a mood that we get into, right? The I can do nothing right mood. We get there. And David was nothing if he was not an emotive man. And yes, I too know the things that I have messed up, the things that I have done wrong. But none of us is it true that we have always done wrong, that we have done wrong from birth. The challenge is this: having eaten of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, and having been remembered that humans, not the angels, created with free will, the burden of free will is that we cannot choose good freely if we could not equally have chosen evil. It's not free will if we can't drive the car over the cliff. And most of us in our youth have done a certain amount of driving the car over the cliff. Some of us continue doing that in life. And some of us, when we get scared or cornered or tired, still do it. Yes, we will continue to transgress, but I want to remind you of what this word sin means. It's an archery term. It is literally an axe throwing term, and it means missing the target. That's what it means, which means, by the way, you were aiming for the target. You can't miss the target you weren't aiming for. Now, sometimes the sin can be in a really egregious one, and you split the handle of somebody else's axe. Or you badly damage the blade on a rock. You could break your axe and need to start over and build a new one to be able to work on your accuracy. But you were actually trying to do well. That's what sin means, literally. I'm going to date myself, but hacky sin is the recent, not that recent, actual correct use of the word sin. It's an error. There is also in us a willful misdeed. There are times when we want to stick our fingers in our ears. I'm going to do what I want, to heck with anybody else because I'm done with them. And we come up with all these justifications for it so that we can feel like we're the good person doing it. And that's also there. The shirt that I'm wearing today, my clergy shirt, I don't wear it very often because it hasn't aged very well. It's a reminder in some of the same ways as the Damiano cross that I've talked about, the reminder of being sure what your calling is. The theme and call of the Templars was not to us, but to God be the glory. They were supposed to protect pilgrims from brigands. They were supposed to protect people on a holy quest from getting jumped by thieves and worse. Then they decided they needed to protect the Holy Land from everybody who didn't think like them. Hospitalists started running hospitals, and then they started defending hospitals, and then they just started defending access to hospitals, and then they started defending the pilgrims. There were actually these sorts of pilgrim protective orders in Spain too, on that pilgrim route. They were meant to defend the defenseless. But you get kind of impressed with yourself and you go off mission pretty quickly. So the non nobis domine is a really good thing to have in mind and something that I work on and work with. But we always have to be aware of the error, the sin, of pride, which can include intellectual hubris, moral hubris, whatever, where we think we are doing so much better, we stop questioning ourselves. And it's that old problem when you point one finger, there's three of them pointed back at you. Careful. Even when we're condemning the horrid sins we're seeing in this country right now, careful. Our wayward feet are also still in the mire. When we get to Romans, we're given a juxtaposition of willfulness and obedience. And really, this substitutionary atonement thing starts in here as this need to feel like it's okay to let go of your self-condemnation. I cannot reconcile a God of love with a God of judgment who would condemn all of humanity for one choice in one moment. I cannot make the two march together. They are very different. But you know the amount of times that I've been told that grace is too easy? Can't be that easy. Can't be that simple. There's no way I could just turn to love and get wrapped back up in love. We need some little ledger sheet psychologically. We need to feel like it's been covered. Jesus didn't need to die to appease God about us. Jesus needed to die to appease us about us. See, it's done. Nobody can do it any bigger than me. It's done. Stop killing yourselves and each other over me. It is to be noted that many of us still don't accept that and are still doing it, ourselves and each other. There is therefore now no condemnation that has taken. It's true. It's true. It's true. It's a free gift. And we see it there as Paul's trying to explain with this juxtaposition of it's enough. Keep saying it's a free gift. It's a grace. It's a gift in the grace. It's a gift. 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 That's what is all through here. And we hear one man, everything suck. One man, everything good. Paul's using a metaphor, a storytelling structure. And many people have ended up trapped in it with this substitutionary atonement. And ironically, I think the people that look at this and say, no, we're after an at-one-ment are theologically much more sound for the only God I'm willing to worship. Because I'm not gonna worship that judging Pantocrator staring sternly from heaven, hating all he creates. That's not my God. And particularly, I want to call out our nation, and I know that I'm going wrong here. Jesus is taken up and told that he can have all the food he wants. And Jesus says you don't live by just bread, but by God. And then the devil takes him and says, show me all the power you have and come out as this hugely powerful being, God incarnate. And Jesus says, don't test God. Just by the way, don't test me. And then the devil shows him all the kingdoms and says, you can have all this power if you worship me. God worships what used to be just the prosecutor. And Jesus says to him, and I say to everybody who claims to be the church and follows instead what clearly the devil tempted, away with you, Satan, for it is written, worship the Holy One your God and serve only God. And so I'm going to worship love, and I'm going to serve only love. And love incarnate, love divine, love beyond all, love's excelling is the only thing that I'm going to bow my knee to. Because I made a promise. That's a godless hope. Which is probably the preachiest preaching I've preached in a long minute. But times right now are what they are. So I do really want to discuss it, even though I've just dropped a whole thing. And I do want to hear from you. And I think my question comes to, okay, we hear that, we see that when we're in our little progressive church bubble. How do we live it in a world where we see this anti-Christianity going on? How do we preserve our spirits from this drumbeat all around us of this more like nationalistic pseudo-Christ? How do we keep going in our own path? So let's start.